organization is that we need to try and find more ways that we can provide value services to our members. And that came out in the strategic planning. That is now a goal of MPPA to at least do the research to find out if there's other areas that we can provide service to our members other than just the power supply. There's a lot of other public power organizations around the country that are providing other services to their members, and I think we are in good enough shape from a power supply standpoint that we can start looking at other services for our members, and that might even help MPPA draw new members into the organization, because MPPA as a group, as a public power agency, has 17 members. We have 41 municipal electric communities in the state, so there's a lot of other communities out there that we potentially could have services to provide to them. The main reason that those communities haven't become involved is because they receive their power supply from some other mechanism. They haven't joined to be able to buy power. Most of them are getting power through some other organization or through some other arrangement that they have on a purchase power basis, like a couple of the small utilities just get all their power from consumers, or all of them get their power from Wisconsin and the UP or something like that. But the more services that we have to offer, the better the opportunity is for us to work as an organization together. So that was good. One of the things that's coming out of that, the first service area, Steve mentioned a little bit last month, one of the programs that MPPA is going to start to offer is a program that identifies and helps individual municipal utilities with their overall financial health for bonding purposes. So Amy DeLue, the CFO at MPPA, has set up a program. We'll be going through it here at Lowell. A number of test questions that we go through and see how we compare with other organizations, and how we can do things maybe that would help us increase our bonding from an A. We have an A rating, which is very good for a utility. Most utilities don't get an A rating. We happen to be fortunate enough to have an A rating, but how can we go to an A+? What are some of the things we could do to even increase that rating? It can go all the way up to an A++ in terms of what the rating scores are from the rating agencies like Standard & Poor's and that type of thing. So that's a program we're putting into place at MPPA. Steve has the information on it, and we'll be going through that process. But those are the kind of services that we'd like to offer that helps our individual municipal utilities be better, because if each individual utility is better, then the group is going to be better as a whole. So that's basically what MPPA has been doing. We're also still looking at the wind. We've talked about that a couple times. They're expecting to have a contract available in the next month or so that we can take a look at and know the details on what the price would be on a purchase power arrangement for wind over the next 20 years. And we're hoping to have a contract ready to sign by midsummer. So our goal is to have that. We've got at least 2 vendors out there now that are buying for the business. As a group, we're looking at buying maybe 150 megawatts of wind. That's a big number. That's a lot of wind. And so again, that's the benefit of working together, having a lot of small utilities working for a common purchase with respect to generation.
And is that wind that is being generated in the state of Michigan?
It'll be in the state of Michigan. It'll probably be in that thumb area. Remember we talked about new transmission in the thumb area? That's why that new transmission was built, was to be able to get the wind out of the thumb and to other places in the state. We also, Steve and I just got back from the MMEA annual meeting in Washington, where we meet with all of our congressmen and senators. That was a great meeting. I'll let Steve talk a little bit about that. We met with we met with both senators. Unfortunately, the representatives were home in the district, but we did meet with their staffers. So, Steve,
we did meet with, I believe I had 7 meetings, and it is interesting to be in DC and see how it goes. And basically the APPA has a publication that we have access to and that we can take to our local representatives and senators and let them know how we as the APPA feel about certain issues. And then we go and have meetings that range between 15 minutes and an hour, and just briefed these staffers or policymakers what's going on in West Michigan, what's going on in the state of Michigan, what projects do we have happening, like the wind, what are our concerns with coal plants, any other issues. So we really touched on the wind, we really touched on coal. You know, there's this transition, and a lot of coal plants are being retired. You know, there's been talks of Bell River being retired, you know, in 2025, 2026, which would affect us. And that also affects the new generation that'll need to be built, and a lot of that's natural gas. And does the state of Michigan have the infrastructure for natural gas? And really in Lowell, you know, that is a challenge for us certain months of the year. So we told them about these issues that we're facing, as well as the possibility of municipal bonds, the tax exemption being waived, where municipal bonds would lose the tax advantage. Right now, they're not taxed federally, where if they were, it could cause a whole host of issues. They've been tax exempt for over 200 years. So we went and talked with representative staffers about these issues, and they took notes, and it's always good to put a name with a face and just learn how things are done with Washington. And I appreciate you guys letting me go, because it was very, very good learning experience, and I'd be excited to go in the future. And actually, it's kind of funny, we met with Huizinga's staff, and I walked in, and it was a friend from college who graduated from Hope 1 year younger than me, who lived in my same dorm when my brother stood up in his wedding. So it was just really, and we talked, and I was with Zealand and Grand Haven and Holland's general managers, and they just couldn't believe it. You know, there was this really good connection. So it was cool to see that he was there, and you know, we have a friend in Washington. So
One of the things that Steve mentioned, the tax exempt financing, and that's really one of the cornerstones of how municipal works. Is not only is it for electricity, but for water infrastructure and roads and schools and
hospitals,
all that type of thing is tax-free financing. And that's one of the areas that the current administration has kind of poked a stick at the past 3 or 4 years in the budgeting process, but it's becoming more and more noticed that that's an area of funds that the federal government is losing out on. So it's getting more attention, and that's not a good thing, is what we're saying. So we want to make sure that all the people that we talk to recognize how important it is to us on a municipal level to continue that kind of funding availability through bonding. It really helps us by almost 1% or sometimes even more in what the bond rate will be.
the interest rate, yeah.
Bond interest rate will be to have an offer that is non-taxable. So that's a huge thing. The other thing is that the infrastructure for the gas that Steve mentioned. So both of those things were good topics for us to discuss with those legislators. Anything else you want to say, Steve?
No, appreciate you
Okay,
letting me go
good.
represent Lowell.
We also had the opportunity to spend some time with Senator, no, well, we did have time with Stabenow, but Gary Peters.
Yeah.
Mind went dead there for a minute. But anyway, he's very interested in alternative energy in Michigan, and will be coming to West Michigan later this year to see what's going on in Holland. I had a chance to talk to him about our biodigester. He was very interested, and so he and the staffer took a lot of notes on our biodigester, and I suspect that he will be stopping when he comes to go to Holland. He'll stop here first and come and get a tour of the biodigester and spend some time in Lowell. So that made it worthwhile as well, to be able to get that recognition and his interest and his staffer's interest in being able to see what we're doing here. So that was good. The only other thing I had there is that the APPA Line Workers Rodeo and Operations and Technical Conference is coming up in a couple, 3 weeks, and so we do have a group going.
Can you explain those dates to me with the van like going first and the second, but there's one?
The van is leaving maybe even the
30th
30th.
at 3 in the morning.
30th to 3 in the morning.
Oh boy,
Who's driving?
Gary.
And
And then leaving Sunday and back, late Sunday.
So, is that, I don't even know
So-
what
so the
day
technic-
you're
there's-
doing this. So
The-
you're
the
going
The
not for
rodeo's
the
the first
conference,
and,
just for
the rodeo is the first and second,
Okay.
and then the technical conference is the 3rd through the 6th, and we're not going to attend the technical conference.
Okay, so
Doug
going
will
out
be
for the
attending the
rodeo.
technical conference.
Okay, well, Doug
Will
will.
be?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll be there.
Okay,
Doug's driving himself.
Somebody had to pick up that safety award.
I just wondered, well, yeah, no kidding.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, I just wondered the way it was written there, I wasn't sure what was going on.
sorry, I made it was confusing.
That's okay. I'm easily confused sometimes, I'm tired.
Well, all right, system generation upgrade progress. Again, we continue work on the Rolls Royce, and parts are starting to come in, and Barney's getting busier. The next item is the recommended schedule and list of items, discussion for the schedule of distribution upgrades that we received from GRP. And I put that in your packet. I told you that it was a fairly large document, and it's almost 100 pages here, but I gave you the executive summary and some of the timelines of the individual projects. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but we'll touch on it briefly. It basically tells us that they made some assumptions about what they thought our load should be in order to be safe in terms of how much load is actually put on the infrastructure that we have at certain times, standard times, or at peak times, or at what they call critical number 1 times. And so based on that, it shows some things that we should do to our system over the next 5 years to increase reliability. And they come up with, I think, 11 different projects that they're recommending that we do over the next 5 years. And it starts with, on page 15, a substation project that they're recommending that we do in 2018. And we have put those things into that long-range planning model, all of these potential expenses, and we'll be looking at those as they come up each year. Some of them are for the year 2017. There's some work on some of the circuits, 201 and 205. We also have, they're recommending that we start utilizing some of the additional circuits that we have in our substation that we haven't used so far. And most of it is just incremental work to help either convert the system from the 4160, which automatically helps reliability when we convert to the 1247, and then some individual projects in terms of some of the step-down substation transformers that we have that are maybe a little bit overloaded, and how we can switch things around and get the system off of those step-down substations as we make conversions. So really stuff that we knew we need to do, but they've laid it out in a nice schedule and plan for us to be able to accomplish it over the next 5 years. And I've incorporated that into the handout that I gave on the strategic planning. I guess maybe, I don't know if Pamela and Steve each got those. We'll take a look at that a little later, but I did incorporate these 11 different projects into the next 5 years of planning in the strategic plan. So unless you have some questions about the individual nature of any one of these particular plans, this is just an overview that's looking at the potential cost over the next 5 years of about $2.8 million to do all of the recommended upgrades to the system.
That's what I was gonna ask, I figured the numbers, cause you're seeing estimated cost on each one, I figured the numbers guy would already have that right in the
Craig said it.
top of his head.
I do have a request. When, I'm a very visual person, and when I was looking through this, and of course the dollar signs were really crazy to look at, but I was looking at where these were located at. And I'm like, well,
They're located in the wall.
yeah, isn't that wonderful? Well, this is the deal.
This is the
Do
deal.
you think that next time you could say, well, 2050, it's kind of like, give me a map
I
to
can
where
do
they're at?
We can
Just,
do that.
just for fun,
Like a
just so I can
generalization.
understand it, yeah, what
We-
these
in fact-
pieces are.
In fact, we have a map, and may have been 2 or 3 months ago that I handed it out, that showed everything that had, part of it was green, and then part of it was red, and all the green
Yeah.
part was what we've already accomplished in terms of conversion to the 1247, and the red was that area that we needed to complete yet. So, on that map, it talks about, or we can at least label what these circuits are, circuit 203, circuit 208, circuit 201,
Mhm.
based on these individual project numbers, and we can color code those for you, so.
Okay, also, it's not just for myself, but when I was watching our meetings, I thought, we're shuffling around a lot of papers, and our audience, which is our community, and we have this great big screen TV here, I thought maybe we could project that on there while we're going through it, if you wouldn't
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
So that,
We can do that.
okay.
We can get Sharon to pan in maybe on the.
I,
Or Mark?
Or Mark.
Not tonight.
not tonight, but I just thought that would be a nice factor for the community.
No, that would be good. Hey, that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Tina. Very good.
I was gonna make a similar kind of a sense that the summary said several tables, charts, graphs, and drawings are included. It's like, I wanna see those,
If
Um,
anybody that wants a copy of the full report, you're welcome to it.
Do you have a digital one?
Yes.
We can send you a digital
Cause
copy.
that way you don't have to worry about doing it.
Yes,
My question,
Send Perry a digital copy, will you?
yeah.
in
I offered to
these,
go digital and everything before you got here.
cost, the 45,000, 170, all those things, are there engineering costs in that also?
Yes, that
So-
includes the engineering cost.
So,
We are working on getting this broken out into different aspects, because another component is how much of the work do we do ourselves? This is assuming that everything was done outside of our shop,
okay,
okay? And so we have definitely the opportunity to use some of our own staff to do that. And based on the staff that we hire for replacements that we currently need, there's the potential that we could do even more of this work. So we will have those numbers before we start doing any of this work, and we'll know what the value of either doing it ourselves or contracting it out or whatever.
right, and my thought process is all of a sudden that that $2 million or whatever, if we're looking at, implementing these over the next 5 years, and I'm just picking a number, there's $200,000 worth of engineering, then us hiring our own engineer would then, that
Exactly.
200,000 would go towards that, would be almost, like you said, what the range of that is, would be close to 3 years of
Paying for it.
paying for it.
Yes, that's
So-
exactly what we're thinking about.
Okay.
So is this roughly what you guys were expecting?
Yes.
So I imagine you must have had some idea that you're going to spend roughly this much over this much time to get us all
Mhm.
upgraded, so.
Again, in the long-range financial model,
Mhm.
spending $400,000 to $500,000 a year was what we had budgeted for this type of work over the next 5 years.
And that's about what this is.
Yeah, and that allows us to save enough money to purchase a biodigester as well, because we have this average annual spendable amount of around $1 million.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we allocate 400,000 or 500,000 of it towards infrastructure improvements, and we're putting another 400,000 or 500,000 in the bank for the biodigester, so that's what the long-range model has done.
Okay.
Any questions on the report? And again, if anybody besides Andrew wants the full report, we'll be happy to send you a copy.
I'll send that to you via email.
Cool,
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right,
I'll read it next time.
I can email it to you.
bring it on a thumb drive and we'll let you put it on.
Yeah,
Yes, with graphs and visuals.
I got crayons. Got a whole bunch of crayons.
Good.
And they're all sharp because the kids got the crayon sharpener.
Okay, the next item then is the biodigester. I have an update from Greg Northrup. He couldn't be here this evening, but basically, everything that he reported to us a month or so ago, that the new organization was gonna take over operations, they were gonna make some changes. They had found some things that they thought were wrong with the way the operations have been set up, so they've implemented those things, and it appears that they're seeing significant change in the way the biodigester is operating. It's actually outperforming what they thought the changes would do. They've actually done some testing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and things are ramping up very nicely. They're very optimistic at this point. I think I told Greg, or maybe Perry, I can't remember which, but Greg Northrup indicated to me that his planned retirement gift to me is that they'll have commercial operation by the end of March. So he reiterated in an email to me this morning that that's his goal, and they think they're on track for that. So hopefully we'll have full commercial operation by the end of the month. They did have an accident at the facility. One of the operators got his arm caught in one of the pieces of equipment, but it was not serious. He had a few stitches in his arm or something like that. It wasn't even serious enough to be an OSHA reportable. There was no loss of work time for the accident, but just in case you hear that out in the community or something, that there was an accident there, you're aware of it, it did happen. And
Was it,
not
I
serious.
don't know, was it avoidable? I mean, was it avoidable by having a guard around it, or?
It probably could have been avoidable if a guard had been around it. I think it was just, again, these folks are operating it, they've only been there 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was just a judgment error, but as part of the review of the accident, they did install a guard on it, and so that it can't happen in the future. So, anything else, Mark, that I missed on that?
Nope, he's a pretty tough guy.
Okay, good. So they've changed what they call the flocculant that they put in it. They've also changed the polymers that they're using in it, and it's being separated a lot better now. They're able to put in as much of the fog as they want to, the manure that they wanted to, without having adverse effects to that wastewater treatment system, the DAF system. In that process of conversion, they have had to haul some stuff away again. That started to clog the system up, but they think they finally got that all cleared up now. And they got, I believe, at least 2 weeks of smooth operating and no backups, and they're ready to be up to full speed. So I think we're there on that. Next item I wanted to talk about was the natural gas supply. We have a meeting scheduled with a prospective supplier on Monday. There's going to be a fairly large group here. I'm also bringing in some people from MPTA and MMEA to meet with us, and they're people that have a good solid background in natural gas supply, and working with this potential supplier and see what we can come up with on Monday. So
That meeting is here?
that meeting is here on Wednesday. That'll be an important meeting, and if any board member would like to show up, it's at 1:30, that's fine. You're welcome to attend. We're Sharon continues to have discussions on the mural and the painting, and if any of you have suggestions as to the theme, just drop us an email, and we're looking at all the options for that. The solar project at the school, I haven't heard anything on in a couple, 3 months now, so we'll make an effort to follow up on that and see what's happening there. I don't know if it's been slowed down, or if it doesn't look like it's something that'll be feasible, but we'll follow up on that. The Lowell Expo's coming up, and again, we'll have a booth there and be doing bucket rides, focusing on energy efficiency, the types of energy efficiency products that we have for our residential customers, because that's the best opportunity to get those things in front of them.
I was hoping, if you don't mind me, when I read that, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to have that AMI information at the table.
We're gonna have a handout, actually.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay. Because I thought, gosh, there's been a lot of questions out there, and I was hoping that would be the situation.
Yes,
Okay.
and we hope to have a bill stuffer as well.
Oh,
First
okay.
Are we doing any public meetings, are those scheduled
We
at
haven't
all?
signed the contract yet, so
Oh,
as soon as we get the contract signed,
I'll tell you about that in here, 2 steps.
okay.
Couple of
Okay,
minutes.
Thank you.
strategic planning, I handed out, the strategic plan. I took all of the information that we garnered, in the last meeting, incorporated a lot of additional projects and sub-entities to those projects so we keep track of them. So you now have that. One of the questions was, how do we determine priorities? We had priorities as A, B, and C, kind of high priority, medium priority, and low priority. Again, I'm open to your suggestions as to how you want to prioritize. The way I look at it, or have looked at it in the past, the feasibility numbers are 1 through 10, high feasibility being 10, low feasibility being 1, and that's something staff assigns. What do we think is the feasibility of really accomplishing that in a certain time frame? And then we would do that based on what you think the priority is. Is this something we want to get done this year? Is this something we want to get done in the next couple of years? Is this something that we can wait a little bit for? There are enough things on the action items list that we obviously can't get them all done in 1 year. Some of them are obviously based on our 5-year plan for the system itself, showing up here between 2017 and 2021. So those are going to be have different priorities for different years already. But so any input that you can give me from how you would like to see this finished, I think we have it pretty much at the place where we have the information there, we have the ability to keep track of it. If you want to see different columns or different mechanisms for giving you a tally each month, then we can do that. But I think from my perspective, we at least have a basic document to work from. Advanced metering, Steve.
All the language and the contract has been agreed upon by both Dick Hunt, our city attorney, and Ian Cooper. There was an addition of something that I wanted in there, that if it took longer for them, we have 20 weeks of project services that were budgeted. If it took longer than those 20 weeks, it would be on them, and they agreed to that.
Wow.
So the last piece is now applying for the financing. They needed our last 3 audits, current year-to-date financial statements through February, the budget for this year, next year's budget, which just got done. They needed an informational sheet and something else, I can't remember. So once the financing portion of the agreement comes through, that is the last schedule on the contract, which will need to be signed. So I talked with Ed King, the head of finance and the third party that Ian Cooper uses, and I talked with Dan, my sales rep, and he agreed that hopefully early next week. We had hoped it would be this week, but in DC I wasn't able to get them. the last informational sheet that I sent over today. So there's where we stand. Assuming we are able to sign a contract, yes, we need to develop a plan for the next 20 weeks. That's roughly how long they estimated to take. It's our hope that it'll take 16 to 18. We do hope to have a handout as well as a bill stuffer. I know one of the council members had asked if we could do some sort of presentation at a council meeting, which I think would be a great place to start early on, because people are attending, council meetings are watching, the paper does write about them. So I think that'd be a good place to start with high-level areas, and then have more nitty-gritty type meetings for those who want it. On Eaton Cooper's dime to get the ball rolling, they did send out a couple engineers, maybe was it 2 or 3 Mondays ago, Mark?
Yep, 2, I think.
2 Mondays ago, Steve and Sarah from Eaton, and Mark and I spent most of the day with them. They drove the system, saw things, asked questions. They met, Greg joined us for lunch and had lunch with them, and again, more discussion and ideas of what's going on. And then the entire distribution department watched a presentation of how the project worked. Just basically a timeline, what the technology is, how it works, just to get people's minds thinking. So that went really well. They gave us a whole binder. Again, we told them, hey, we haven't signed a contract, and they understand that we're not in line for anything. But, you know, eventually it'll get signed and we can get the ball rolling, so.
And they did confirm also that they have a lot of, already established information that we can use, once we get that contract signed, to be able to start that consumer knowledge education process, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And there was I don't know, I'm assuming everybody gets your little APPA magazine. If you look through that, there's 4 cities, or 4 different municipalities or whatever. They did kind of a highlight and about automatic metering. And then there's also another section of fact, true or false, and you can read through those. I mean, I think that we can take things from that as informational to the public. My one question, and it was really interesting reading about these 4 different, how much money that they were saving, and one, they're a little bit larger than us, but a couple of them, they were not huge. One community had almost 50% rentals. It was a college town, and that they could actually turn them off, turn them back on, and everything right. Didn't have to send anybody out, and it was amazing the amount of money that they were saving. I think it was projected that they were saving like $350,000 a year in just because they have such a changeover, because it was a college town,
Right.
small college town, but of the rental type situation. So on our meters that we're doing, are we gonna be able to turn them on, turn them off? You know, somebody comes in, we don't have to send a service truck out, you know, a new renter has that AMI meters on that facility already, and,
Our meters that we're purchasing cannot do that.
okay,
Our system can do that. The reason we've decided not to go with those type of meters is they look the same, but what's built into them costs more. I don't know the exact number, but I wanna say $50 to $100 more per meter. Most residents we do have here, they stay, they're not
Right,
getting shut off, so
and-
it's like, how do you justify spending over 100,000 extra dollars? But the idea would be in the future, if we can target an area, yes, we do have people moving on and out. A lot of times, and Julie can speak for this, somebody will move out, but somebody's gonna move in, so we don't disconnect the service. You see, we'll be able to read what their final read is,
Right.
we'll be able to read the beginning read, all on a computer, but we don't disconnect the service.
What we did decide was that
and again,
once we get these in place, and we start doing analysis on which customer sites most often have shut-offs, then we can swap those meters out for some of these. And our estimate at this point is that there'll probably be less than 50 of those on our system. So that's a plan, but it's gonna take a year or two to implement, because we wanna get the data first, figure out which meter sites those would be, and then switch those meters out at that time.
And that's, and again, though, so that everybody knows, they were talking about, that it was a small college town and 50% of their meters were rentals.
Right.
Yeah, it would be great, but, yeah, just the cost for the town, I just don't.
Well, it doesn't make sense. I
No.
agree with
It's not a cost-effective way to approach it at this point.
No, and you're right, we don't typically just shut someone off. We would tag the door and say, you need to call us. We would read the meter, tag the door, and then you need to call us to then get your service set up as the new customer. Don't actually shut the power off. That's our, we don't wanna shut the power off, so
Right.
we tag it and but we did read the meter, so the first person is done with their service, and we read the meter for the next person, even if they don't call for a couple days, we read the meter back to the day they.
And that's saving us $50 to $100 per customers, just for that.
Right.
That's great.
For those of you who don't know, this is Julie Stewart. I asked her to be here because we are going through some transition. I thought it would be beneficial for Julie and the company for her to be here. She's our staff accountant, does some customer service and does great work, so thanks for being here, Julie.
Anything else, Steve, on the AMI?
No, I'm ready to sign a contract and start marching on this thing.
Me too, sign that.
I don't like coming back and telling you I don't have one, but we're just waiting on other people now.
All right, next item, we're still on hold, looking at options, maybe sometime this summer, we've talked about different options, to have a get-together where we involve our employees and other people from different boards and commissions within the city. Payables are available if you require them or request them. I do have a couple other quick items here. Number one, just an update on the search process. The search information is out. It will be published in this month's Currents magazine. It's also currently on the web, on the APTA site. And so the final day to get applications in, I think, is mid-April. So the Currents doesn't even come out until, the next one doesn't come out until the second week in March, so. I do already have 2 applications, so the APTA site has generated a couple of applications. And then the last thing I want to mention is that the city council has requested a joint meeting with the council and the board to be after their next council meeting on March 21st. So if you are all available.
Are you gonna be on?
No, Monday night, I made the suggestion to the council at the council meeting because of questions that still keep popping up through Alan T-Lander, and I mentioned I didn't know whether they're coming from him personally or from the council as a whole, because one of the comments were we only have 1 lineman and a couple apprentice, and that's not true. And again, I got back in touch with, left him a voicemail, Alan, and we have 3 journeyman linemen and 2 apprentice currently. And then the next question was, 90% of our staff has left Lowell Light and Power, which is not true. So I suggested at the council meeting that we have a meeting together, and I'm just, while we're talking about it, because I don't want to end on a sour note, but I'm very disappointed tonight, not in the board, not in this, but in the city council. This is the second meeting in a row that the, ex parte, the representative from the council has not attended our meetings. I was in part of the Trails meeting last night, and Jeff Phillips and Jeff Altoff both attended that meeting, which was great having somebody from the city. I would like to go, I mean, I'm gonna make the suggestion to the city council and to, that, whether we were spoiled or Jim Hodges did a great job, attended every one of our meetings, had input, and I would make the suggestion, and I know things come up, emergencies, different things that you can't make a meeting, but all it takes is a phone call or a text or an email or whatever to say, you know, I can't make it or whatever, but again, I'm seeing a pattern, and this is 2 meetings in a row, and I'm frustrated because the council appears that they have all these concerns and questions and everything, and then there's no participation, and the person that's supposed to be here representing the council is 2 times in a row, and that being Jeff Altoff. And I'll leave it at that, and you can go back to.
Okay. That's the end of, what I had for the manager's report.
I may have missed it along the way somewhere, but, and I realize this is a management thing and really has nothing to do with us, and I'm asking only out of curiosity. But because of a recent retirement, and gee, thanks for joining us as a visit tonight. Did I miss kind of what happened with that, or is that still?
No, that's still in process.
Okay.
We've had interviews,
Okay.
We're having a second interview, or third interview maybe, even on Friday.
Okay,
Um,
so I know last
Tomorrow.
time I asked you about it, you said you had a really good candidate.
Right,
A strong interview,
Yeah.
and, okay, I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
what decisions
I
had
would
been
hope in
made.
the next week or so we'll have a solution
Okay,
for that. I'm sorry, I didn't mention
no, that's
anything
okay,
about that.
I just was kind of curious if that,
Absolutely.
if that position was gonna be filled prior to you leaving, if you, I mean, if it looks like it
Mhm.
might be, or, okay. I just would hate to see, I mean, Steve's gonna have an awful lot on his plate in this interim, and I would hate to see him down and still having to deal with that, you
Right.
know?
Right, I
So,
understand.
yeah, okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, next item on our agenda is the schedule of meetings. Our next Lake Power Board meeting is April 14th. Bigger item on our agenda is Greg's retirement party, March 24th at Main Street End from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Get there early, parking will be a problem, I'm sure they'll have to close Main Street down.
I doubt it.
And that brings us to board comment. Andrew, we'll start with you.
All right, well, a couple things. One is just earlier, I was kind of joking about, you know, Terry's contribution to the outage, or to the result of the outage, but it was also kind of serious in the sense that, you know, let's say he saved 2 minutes off the outage, but the fact that we have a locally controlled municipal electric utility, and the fact that we're a small town that, you know, as a resident can notice this fuse is out, call them up and say, here's where it is, we can go take care of it. And it's a short outage, you know, I mean, we're kind of spoiled by that, you know, we still do have trees falling on lines once in a while, you can't avoid that, but the fact that we have that local control, that people that live here can go here or live nearby and they can get here and get it cleared up, and it's just, I think further just shows how awesome it is to have that kind of local control over our utility, and then everything else we're doing with it as well is just pretty cool. Then the second thing is, again, just congratulations to Greg. You're gonna have a lot of fun, it sounds like, you know, hard to imagine you having more fun than you had here.
That's true.
But, yeah, you're gonna be missed, I mean, you're an incredible example of just a, you know, the professional, municipal professional that, I'm glad we had you in the city for the times we did. I think we're kind of lucky to get you when we did, and I'm glad that worked out. And and yeah, it's just gonna be hard to replace you, but I was amazed just when I first met with you when I was on council, and you were kind of talking about, oh, we're gonna do, you know, there's this potential getting gas in for doing this, and we're gonna try to be self-sufficient here and do these, it's like, my goodness. There's just an amazing amount of long-term planning, and yet you were doing real effective work on it, you know, and this was, I don't know how long ago, 5 years ago, or I don't, you know, something like that. And it's incredible that you have that ability to do that, and so I'm just really glad that we had it. I'm sorry that we're losing it, but you've instilled a lot of that process into the operation here,
Hope so.
which I think is gonna go a long way towards helping, you know, whoever's in charge next and whoever's sitting here next and all that, so enjoy your retirement, don't worry about us too much.
I'll try that.
We all still have a cell phone number, just saying.
Perry?
Okay, well, as was mentioned, the expo is March 26th. Invite the public to come out to the expos, talk with Low Light and Power will be out there. Along with that, there's going to be a blood drive. I would hope that at the expo, a little bit different, Shelby offering Tomzak in her memory, gonna do a huge blood drive, and that the funds that will be generated from that will be used as a scholarship at the high school in her name. Laugh Fest is March 18th here in town. I've attended Laugh Fest before here, and it's a Friday night up at this, I believe, is going to be at the Grand Volute, and it's a great date night. So come on out and get involved in Laugh Fest. And again, just want to clarify, it just happens that the power was in my neighborhood that went out, and so again, over the years I've known where the fuses are and could go out and look, and yeah, it does speed things up a little bit. The trees that went down that caused that outage were over at by Bushnell School, which Mark and his crew got on right away, and again, before they could do that, they had to figure out why it popped, and they did that, and the power was restored in a very short time. Thank you, Greg, for the years that you've been here. I know in talking that March 25th, you're just not going to pack up and be gone, that it's going to be a time of transition for your family. A great family. Have a nice retirement. And I'm sure we'll be calling on your services for some future projects or different things that we'll be able to pick your brain. Thank you.
Tamla?
So I just want to echo what Perry said earlier about city council representation. I think it's really important that we have that with everything going on in this community right now. I think that's vital for moving forward, that we have that representation. So hopefully the council can get that straightened out and have someone here on a regular basis. I mean, aside from the special meeting that we called to talk about Greg's retirement, we haven't had anybody representing the city council, you know, since Jim was done being mayor. So it's been a couple months, and I think it's important to make sure that somebody starts coming on a regular basis that can be attentive and pay attention and share some of that information back at the council meeting as those questions come up. I apologize for running late. I am trying to adjust to my new role at Grand Valley, and so life has been a little bit chaotic as I'm adjusting to this new job, and so I'm sorry I was running behind. Greg, it's been a pleasure getting to know you on a professional and personal level. I had the opportunity to spend some time with your family last year, I think it was, when I was out at one of the conferences, and they are a great family. I don't know what it was like before, I don't have that context, but I have watched what you've done in this community over the last few years and have been incredibly impressed with your thoughtfulness and your leadership. And really appreciate what you've done for us here and excited for your family in the next chapter of life and not excited for us as we go through this, but, and I just wanna take a moment and thank Steve. I know, you know, the transition period is gonna put a lot of extra burden on you, and
He's up for the challenge.
I don't doubt that, but I also just wanna say I appreciate that in advance, because it is going to require a lot more out of you than maybe what you've been accustomed to over the last few months, and so I appreciate your willingness to step up and step into that role, and having learned so much from Greg over the last couple of years, and I appreciate your willingness to be there for the transition. Thanks. That's it.
Tina?
I have just a couple things here. The budget and all the hours that you're gonna be spending trying to keep your head above water, I do appreciate it, down the road, because, and let your wife know that I do appreciate her for being cool with you, putting in all these hours right now. It's gonna be, you know, you've got some big shoes to fill, you know, between this time from point A to point B, so I do appreciate it. As far as safety award, how many years in a row did we get this? Is this the 11th year, did you say, or the 10th year?
10th out of 12.
10 out of 12.
10 out of 12? What the? You guys are great. That's because I don't work here, so you guys are great. You guys are super, amazing job. Thank you so much for, you know, that's another great badge that, you know, we carry, so. I am concerned about the 3 dead trees that keep falling around town or what have you. That was the outages. You said there was dead trees. Just for fun, could somebody let the arbor board know about this so that we don't have a trend of some sort of disease going around? Just for fun.
The majority of these trees, Tina, are on city property
Okay.
down by the river. And we were scheduled to get those removed this winter. Our staff was gonna work with DPW staff to get those removed. And so winter just happens to be over early. But we're working on a plan to make sure that that's not an issue.
Okay. I do appreciate it, so that if you do find that it is a disease or what have you, please, you know, let them know.
Those are all dead diseased trees that are down in that low water area.
Yeah.
And there's
A lot of them got killed by the flood too.
And this was the one that I was over at Bushnell was actually on some private landowners that next to where the power lines, there was a limb that just came out and brought contact with the 2 wires together, right, Mark?
Yes, sir. Yep, 2 figures got together.
Okay. And lastly is, of course, you know, Greg's retirement. I just want to go to record that I was the one that voted that he couldn't retire, and I wanted him to stay. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you know, the great ideas that you have brought to the table and to this community, I have just been in awe since day one that I've come to this board. What an opportunity for me to sit at this board to understand what exactly do you do and how do things work and how do you make it happen. And the great thing about it is I have found that no question's dumb. I'll ask you, okay, so what is that and what's that process? And you have no problem putting it in layman's terms so that I can truly understand what's going on in the cogs of this organization, how you do it. And I'll tell you, you know, your family is really taking away a great man out of our community, but I'm gonna tell you right now, down the road, we'll see you probably on 60 Minutes. I'm the guy that said, hey, I left this town and set them up great because they're gonna be running on their own, and they are, and I'm in my new spot now, and I'm doing great things with these kids and animals and what have you, and, you know, good luck, cause I can see that down the road for you. Thank you for being ours for the time that we've had you, so.
Thank you.
And I want an invitation to the farm, it's right,
Absolutely.
just saying.
Thank you.
Thanks, Butch.
No, I'm just gonna comment with everyone else here. Greg, your 8 years here were really something. You turned this organization around. We had good people here, but I think our leadership was just a little bit weak in knowledge of the electric industry. And we were so fortunate that you stepped in to help us as interim. And then where you've taken us, you're thinking outside the box. There's a lot of really great things that are coming close to completion here. But good for you for retiring and enjoying life from this point, because there's more to life than working all the time. You've really, like others said, have set us up well. You were really, really good at what you do, but you're also a great man and a great person. And you've done wonderful things, and thank you very much.
It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I move to adjourn.
I'll support.
Have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.